Third wall, fourth wall, seventh wall. I don't know.
The third wall back there.
It takes 7 boards to get a good one from Asus. Let me explain.
Asus is the motherboard for those who dare.
I've got nothing. It's totally froze again. Oh, there you go. There you go.
So, who wants to void their $1,000 motherboard's warranty? That's pretty much what's going on. Asus is a big bag of you-know-what, and everyone is talking about it. It's a big deal. Jay's 2 cents has basically dropped his brand deal with them. Gamers Nexus put out a really informative video. I will link both those down below. This is very interesting. I recently posted a video talking about the state of the motherboards and how bad they've been lately. And this was before all of this drama happened. And I've had tons and tons of bad experiences. And I kind of wanted to talk about Asus as a whole and how bad their company has really gotten over the past couple of years. So to give you a little insight about what's going on, essentially Asus has launched a new beta BIOS that covers all of their mainstream X670 motherboards. And it's basically to fix the possibly fire hazard voltages and many problems with the BIOS that they have for the X3D chips from AMD. So AMD is not at fault here. The motherboard manufacturers are the ones that are supposed to design their motherboard to function properly and not cook the CPUs. So when a recent person sent Gamers Nexus a bad motherboard and CPU that caught on fire, it kind of turned into this whole huge drama. Asus is launching a beta BIOS and you can install it today. And what happens is your warranty becomes voided. So you cannot RMA the board or anything. If something bad happens, you're kind of SOL. So there's a few major things going on here, and Asus is really not handling this well. First of all, I am watching these posts get deleted left and right on their Facebook Asus PC DIY group. This is also happening on Reddit, and there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, they want to kind of control the crowd, but they're basically silencing their customer, which is another super anti-consumer thing to do. There are some posts left up here, but just hours ago, there were way more talking about, you know, look at these videos, what's up with this, having just general questions about what's going to happen with their board, and none of it is getting answered here, which is, I just think, pretty ridiculous. Which leads me to actually this RTFM show that Jay's 2 cents just did, like not even an hour ago, talking about their Asus, let's just say their marketing team, and how they deal with things. And check this video out.
Their technical marketer, I won't say his name, but those in the know. I have never seen anyone internally defend the internal culture that exists at Asus like this particular technical PR person. I have never seen anyone literally drunk on the Kool-Aid.
Wow.
To that level. And it sucks because over the years, like I've just gotten to the point where the amount of BS that is put out, I just can't anymore. And it's not, and you gotta understand, totally off record because I'm not gonna name these people, but I've gone to other folks.
He's not going to name this person, but I have a pretty good idea of who it is because I've had many interactions with this person on the DIY group. And it's pretty frustrating when you have a problem and you're an average consumer, or even like somebody like myself, who I've built hundreds of computers, and I still run into an issue and I'm looking for an answer, and you get some kind of terrible response. It really puts a bad image on Asus as a whole.
Both large channels and small channels and collaborate and be like, so what's your experience with Asus? And what have they said to you, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all the same thing.
Story.
It's the same story. The story is you're doing something wrong. It's my job to figure out what you're doing wrong, but you're doing something wrong.
Yep.
And here's a 25-page essay as to what you're possibly doing
As if we don't know how to use a computer.
So the main reason I included that segment there wasn't talking just about the X670 problem. Asus as a whole has been having a ton of problems. And recently, in December, I actually upgraded to a 13700K. This is my 4th motherboard. I bought 4 of these, and 2 of them I paid for. I actually got kind of scammed, to be honest. One of them I went to return, and Amazon, through Asus, had an issue with it and didn't give me my money back, but didn't return the product. But that's a whole different story. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I reached out for help online from Asus, and I got some of the most negative answers, and I'll show you guys a few of those in a little bit. Not regarding this, but regarding features and just the overall attitude that you get from this company. So here's a lighthearted post I made after a customer of mine came to me talking about how it would be cool to have some feature to undervolt their CPU. They're running a 13900K and the performance was kind of all over the place. So I had to walk them through undervolting, which led me to go and post this post. Would be cool to see Asus be the first to have an AI undervolting feature in the BIOS. And there's a guy, I was gonna avoid bringing up his name, but I'm just gonna say his name. His name is Juan. He works for Asus. He's had some up and down track record with responses, and in this response in particular, he's kind of an asshole to me, actually. He says somewhere around here, after I give him a pretty nice introduction, the man himself. If we go down to the replies, you are not aware enough then of some of our design benefits. And basically goes on a rundown saying that I don't know how to undervolt and that there are those features baked into the BIOS, which there are in some ways, like you can turn on the 90C limit, or there's a few tricks you can do. But overall, his response to me was pretty much just negative, almost treating me like an idiot. And I'm pretty sure he knows, because I post a lot on here, that I've been kind of doing this stuff for a long time. And I just wrote, I'm not aware enough, got it. Here's another good example. This was posted on PCMR. I didn't even say anything. I just posted this graph that's been going around, pretty much stating that the 3080 is better value, especially on the used market. And he felt the need to go out of his way and comment how I shouldn't be saying that, basically, and that the 4070 is far superior. Yet the 4070 is doing worse at 4K. So long story short, I just said, never said anything of what you were saying isn't true. As a person who promotes new hardware, at least admit to yourself it's hardly an improvement versus what Nvidia has given in the past. And he didn't even respond to that. But to be honest, it's like, to me, it's just weird to have people in marketing like him, like posting stuff and then going around chasing people around in comments. It's just so unusual for a business. Here is another example of incompetence. This is actually both EK and Asus's fault. This is off the $700 formula board where there was corrosion building up inside the block. Now, I would say that this is probably more EK's fault than Asus, but Asus should have thoroughly checked the samples that they got the first time and been like, hey, there's a problem here. We found a problem. But no, Asus doesn't check anything. And that's what it's really seeming like. They just send stuff out the door and they expect the customer to find the problem. You're basically all beta testers or alpha testers at this point. So I'm sure a bunch of you are aware of the incident that happened last year with the 670 motherboards that were catching fire. So now this is round 2 of fires, don't forget. And so this one to me is even more concerning actually than the voltage in the BIOS. And I'm going to say this because I used to work for an SMT company. I basically built motherboards for high-end companies, all sorts of stuff. And there's a procedure. Pretty much every board has a scan. We check polarities. We check all this stuff. And the reason why this was so concerning to me was that it seemed like Asus completely was skipping quality control altogether. I know it was the pandemic and we were kind of phasing out of it. And all the companies were trying to produce as much as possible. But when you build a board like this, it typically goes into a machine that scans the product and can identify when things are backwards, which means that Asus in general was just skipping that step like altogether. And I'll tell you this, as a person who has worked for that company for years, the way it works essentially is there's like a scale. You have like quality levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being something like an airplane company, and it goes down from there. You pay for the quality. So like if a customer comes to me and says, this is what I want to build, it doesn't need to be super high quality. We'll still check the components and make sure everything is correct, but we're not going to like overly check it. So Asus should be using something like a 2 or 3 level quality check, which even at level 2 would require this board to go through a scanner. And that little line that's on top of the cap that you can't see anymore should be flipped in an orientation that it wasn't, and it was backwards, which means they completely skipped that step, which also means that they're probably not even burn-in testing these motherboards. They're just sending out these $400 or $500+ motherboards to customers with barely any testing. So getting back to the Asus problem, this issue has been really kind of going on for a long time. Their quality control has really fallen off. I remember even back on the X299 platform, I had to buy 4 different motherboards again because of the VRM issues, where essentially the 7900X, not the new one, but the old Intel 7900X would cook the VRM so much and their design was flawed that eventually the board would die. They did fix that later. They seem to come out with fixes every time there's a problem, which is good. But in the end of the day, we're all kind of here buying this high-end product and it's failing on us. We should just not support this company anymore until they get their act together. And I think that's pretty much it. Don't forget about Armory Crate too, by the way. Armory Crate is basically a virus. It's gonna do it for this video, guys. I know it was kind of all over the place. I really am just like frustrated. I'm feeling everyone else's frustration about this because I build a lot of computers and Asus has really been screwing me in my life lately, so it's also hurting everyone. I hope they fix it. I hope anyone who has bought these products has some way of either returning it or getting that fix. And yeah, till next time, guys. Peace.